The reason these speakers are a bad value is because of the wireless control dial. I think these speakers are fairly expensive for what they are, and I think it's expensive because of the wireless control dial and because of the features that come along with it. But I think because the dial is wireless, it introduces a bunch of problems that kind of inhibit the fundamental purpose of a control dial in a way that just makes this a bad product, in my opinion. So a control dial is incredibly convenient for your computer speakers. If you've never had a control dial for your computer speakers before, I would recommend it. I really like a dial, but this dial sucks. Because it's wireless, there's a delay between when you move the dial and when the volume changes. It's not a big delay, but I find it annoying, and you wouldn't get that with a wired dial. Because this is wireless and it's not an analog connection, this dial has to like count the number of, you can kind of feel little like bumps in the dial. Like it has like set positions it wants to be in. And it feels nice, I like that. But because it's a digital dial, it's like counting those bumps, I think. And then it has to like send it to your, the speakers and to tell them to change the volume. But it's possible, but this thing can't count the bumps infinitely fast. So if you spin the dial very quickly, the volume won't change very quickly. There's like a maximum speed at which this thing can count the bumps. And so it's kind of hard to accurately adjust the volume to an exact change that you want, because there's a max speed you can go. If you go past that, it doesn't actually spin the volume faster. So it's just kind of a little obscure. It's kind of hard to know. It's kind of hard to quickly change the volume accurately because of the way this digital dial has to count how fast or how much you've moved it. And because of the way that it counts, it has to count these bumps and then send them to the speakers. It has this like momentum effect. Like if you spin it kind of fast, like not too fast, like fast enough that it can register it, you might spin it like this and let go of the dial, and the volume is still changing a little bit after you stop spinning the dial. Or maybe you spun it like that, and you can let go of the dial, and the volume is still changing after you let go of the dial. And it's because it like counted that you had moved 20 bumps or whatever, and then it's going to change the volume 20 bumps, but you've already gotten your hand off the dial. So there's like this momentum effect to the volume change. So that combined with the fact that you don't really know how many bumps it's counting, because if you spin too fast, it might not register the full amount, and combined with the fact there's a delay, like it is just kind of difficult to accurately change the volume, which is the fundamental purpose of a control dial. Secondly, it's a wireless control dial, so it like disconnects from the speakers after some amount of time, to save battery. It's not always communicating, but there's no way to know if it's connected or not while it's sitting here. The light isn't on, I don't think. Well, the light turns off sometimes, but it's not always possible to know if it's connected. Yeah, see, it turns off. So you don't know if it's on when you go to play something on your computer. And then if you push it, then like pushing it also pauses your music. And so it's just possible that like when you first wake this thing up, you don't actually know if it's connected yet, or if you've just accidentally paused the music, or like, again, there's scenarios where it can just be a little unclear of what the current status of this thing is. There are two ways to hook up the speakers to your computer. You can use the 1/8 inch audio jack, the standard 1/8 inch jack, or you can use a USB connection. If you use a USB connection, then when you change the volume, it's going to change the volume from within Windows. And when you push the pause button on your speaker, it's going to like actually do the play pause function on your computer. I don't prefer that. I don't like changing my Windows volume. I prefer to use the 1/8 inch jack because I just want the speakers to change its own volume. And I think doing that method makes the problems I just described more prevalent, because at least if you use USB and you have it paused and you push it to pause, you can tell on your computer if your music is paused or not, or you can move the volume dial and see if the volume on your computer changed. So it'd probably be easier to tell if it's connected or not. But if you use it the way that I use it with the 1/8 inch jack, it's not easy to know if it's connected and ready to work. And then you don't know if it's paused, or you don't know if it's not connected. So that can be pretty annoying. I mean, it's supposed to just be a control dial, like, and there's a little bit of annoyance before you can ever use it. The other thing, the bass level, to adjust the bass, you have to hold down for a couple seconds, and then that long chime happens, and then you can move the bass. But this has the same issues the volume has. If you move it too fast, then it's not going to count the bumps exactly right. And because this thing spins an infinite amount, it's really difficult to know where you are on the level of bass. You know, you can tell when you're at the bottom because it'll give you a chime. You can tell when you're at the top because it'll give you a chime. But it's not easy to like hit the middle, for instance, because like I said, it's possible to spin it too fast. So you can't even like count the number of turns, because if you had turned it a little too fast, then, you know, you're adding more turns than you may have needed if you had gone slower. You know, like it's difficult to accurately place the level of bass on this thing. Of course, you can listen to music and like dial it in that way, and you're probably not going to be changing the bass level that often. But just again, it's another way in which the current status of this dial is a little ambiguous, and I find that really annoying. So there's just a bunch of ways that you don't know what this thing is doing. You don't know what the volume is if you use the 1/8" jack. You don't know what the volume is because it's an infinite wheel. It's difficult to accurately change the volume because if you go too fast, then, you know, it's not gonna, like, it's hard to know. It's hard, if I want to change the volume a little bit, it's hard to just do it a little bit because there's a delay, and then if I do it too fast, did I get enough bumps that I want to get it to a comfortable volume? And then you have that momentum issue I talked about. Like, I want to be able to just sit here and be like watching a video or something or listening to music and just, you know, just change the volume like easily and quickly. But it's just kind of hard to do that with this because of the ambiguity of the current state of this thing. I think it's still in bass mode. No, I think it just went out of bass mode when I was talking, but now it's, yeah, so now it's out of bass mode. So it had gone out of bass mode while I was talking, and then I just put it back into bass mode. You see, I don't know how often that scenario is going to occur, because like I said, how often are you going to change the bass? But again, that's another instance of the current status of this control dial not being clear. I didn't know that I was out of bass mode until I accidentally put it back into bass mode, you know? So I don't like that at all. None of these problems would be prevalent with a wired control dial. None of them. It would just sit there, and when you moved it, the volume would change. And if you moved it, you know, a millimeter, the volume would change equivalent to a millimeter. And if you moved it, you know, the equivalent of 3 centimeters, the volume would change 3 centimeters worth, you know, immediately. You could spin it as fast as you wanted, and the volume would change that fast. Like, it's just so much more convenient and useful to have a wired control dial. So unless you really like the aesthetics of these speakers, these are not a good value. You're paying for the wirelessness nature of this and the good looks, but you're paying for the fact that it's wireless, but it makes it so much worse. And these speakers have Bluetooth connectivity. I mean, I guess some people would like that, but like, they're connected to your computer, so I don't think you need Bluetooth. I mean, you can have Spotify playing on your computer, you can pull up Spotify on your phone, and you can control Spotify from your phone. You can control Spotify on your computer from your phone, so you don't need to Bluetooth to your phone or anything. Like, I don't think that's a feature that's super useful. I just don't think these are a good value. I think a wired set of speakers would be way more useful, and you could get way better speaker quality. You could spend half the money and get the same speaker quality and get a better, more functional dial, a wired dial, or you could spend the same amount of money and get like twice as good speakers with a wired dial. Like, these are just not it. I do not recommend these speakers. Also, the batteries are gonna die. You're gonna have to replace them. Not a huge deal, but another con. So I strongly dislike this control dial, and I highly recommend you consider getting a wired dial.
no se escucha muy fuerte y está en el máximo volumen, al igual que en esto. Ya llegó su máximo y esto ya no suena muy fuerte. De hecho, casi ni se escucha. Entonces le desconecté desde allá porque solamente esos como que funcionan bien. Pero esta central no, ya no suena muy bien. De hecho, se escucha muy fea el sonido y muy bajito.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.